So there's word on the street that the G5 may be looking at beginning in its own playoff. I've been trying to rack my brain to figure out how I feel about that. It's been a topic that I've thought about before. It's been a topic that I've heard about before. And I think I feel the same way that I originally felt when I first thought and heard of it, which is why. Who's going to watch it? And even if you take it beyond that, let's look at some of these teams, right? Boise, Memphis, Liberty, Appalachian State. So the problem isn't necessarily the teams because all of those I just named are good teams and there's others out there. James Madison isn't going to fall off that hard as people might think. Bob Chesney taking over. But the point that I'm trying to make is once you get good, the Power Five comes a calling. So, Matson just beat out Malachi Nelson at Boise. There's some players on Boise State this year that can have good seasons that end up in a Power Four next year. I said Power Five earlier, getting used to that Power Four thing. When I look at teams like Memphis, talented enough for Mike Norvell to come snatch some of your players. So would the G5 playoff even be worth it from the standpoint of these are not the teams that we were used to? This is not Boise State that beat Oklahoma or had a 2 or 3 game winning streak against Oregon. This is not that. This is not TCU because now they're in the Big 12. This is not TCU of the mid 2000s. This is not Utah. They're in the Big 12 now. That went and beat Alabama, that had undefeated seasons. This is not that. So when I look at it, is there a market for this? Like, I would watch it just because I'm a college football fan. It's my baby, been my first love. But I don't know if there's a market for this. When do you even have it? You can't run it concurrently with the college football playoff. Like, are you just going to get rid of bowl games altogether? So how many teams are in it? Because then you have schools that might not be playoff ready, like, say, Florida Atlantic, Troy, now that they've lost Summerall, UTSA even. What do those teams do when their seasons are over? Now, this could lead to the split that we've been talking about for years, where the Power Four goes over here, the G5 goes over there. Maybe that jump starts it. Maybe the G5 is just trying to jump in front of it. But if there's no split imminent, the way that I view this is that all these years you've been fighting to be included. And now all you're doing is showing the Power Four that they were correct when they said that you were less than. So, being honest about it, right? A G5 champion isn't going to win the college football playoff. Probably ever as we go forward. And don't let you not perform well. They'll mess around and eliminate you from it. So, yes, I get the thought of why you would want to have your own playoff. I just don't agree with it. Unless you decide to become what? Division 1.5? Because FBS, FCS back in the day, they were Division 1A, Division 1AA, like Division 1.5. FPS, the football playoff system, I don't know. But unless you're willing to make that break and just have your own league, then I think this conversation is premature and not needed. And while we're on the topic of G5s, can somebody out there explain to me why the Mountain West is considered the best G5 this season? Because I don't see it. Like, I see Boise, but what else? Fresno I thought was going to be pretty good. They lost Jeff Tedford. UNLV's had a resurgence. Can they do it 2 years in a row? Air Force lost a lot. Colorado State should be a little bit better, but we're talking about a team that didn't even make a bowl last year. But when I look at the American, I see Memphis, UTSA, South Florida in year 2 of Golish. They're bringing in Army. They still have Tulane, who brought in Summerall from Troy that I mentioned earlier. Like they're much deeper. And I didn't even say Florida Atlantic with year 2 of Tom Herman. So when I look at the AAC, to me, they're still the best. Like when I look at the Sun Belt, you got Appalachian, maybe James Madison. Texas State is going to be really good this year. So the Sun Belt might even be better than the Mountain West. But, just some thoughts. But I'm not here for the G5 playoff right now, even though I would watch it. The problem is, I don't think you would.